Hi, I'm Susan Peterson, and you are listening to Started from the Bottom, an entrepreneur-focused podcast on getting started. Here you will find all the mindset tools and resources you need to just get started. Hey, Sid, welcome to Started from the Bottom.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here. And we just read your bio, but how did you get started in startup?
It was really, I was a student at BYU, and I can point to a friend and his dad. So the friend was Brad Hagan. We had served our LDS missions together. His dad and mom let me live in their basement when I was a student, which was enough on its own. But beyond that, ultimately gave me and Brad an opportunity to be account executives just as young college students for a business that for us led to everything. It was like first time making money, first time really understanding business, specifically sales, and a lot of that. I remember Dave taking us to Detroit, helping us co-signing on an apartment because we didn't have enough credit, the whole bit, being very generous and just helping us out early on. Had lunch with him like 3 weeks ago. Every time I remind him, like, thank you for giving me a shot.
So what was your first business?
So that business was selling services to mortgage companies. This was when FHA loans were kind of all the rage and still are a viable path for first-time home buyers. There was a service that was kind of becoming commoditized, but it was still growing throughout the U.S. And his dad owned this company. We started by just being interns. We were students and thought, hey, we need some sales experience, some business experience. And so we were interns. And then we looked at it and said, gosh, there's all these people, these account executives making real money. Will you give us a shot? And they were like, we don't have any openings. We're like, anywhere? And they go, well, Detroit. We're like, well, take it. Give us a shot. And so we moved to Detroit. And we were sales reps for this company, Neighborhood Gold, and had a grind of figuring it out, how to sell. One of our managers was this guy named Levi King. He co-founded Lendio and Nav. He was an investor in my first startup. I was an investor in both of those companies. He kind of taught us how to sell. And so it wasn't our own business. My first business was really being a part of a well-run organization and learning the AE, the account executive side of things, and how to sell. And from there, we saved like all of our money and started then to dabble in our own startups.
And then what was your next business?
Next business was SoftSpot. So we came back to Utah. The first piece of furniture I ever bought was a love sack. And I paid $550, which seemed like an egregious amount of money. Like, couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Every couch, love seat, everything we had before then was secondhand.
Right.
And so I'm sitting on this thing, I'm looking at it, I unzip it. I'm like, it's just cut up foam in a thing. Like, Brad, couldn't we make these on our own cheaper? And so we reached out to some friends and we essentially made knockoff love sacks called SoftSpot in China. And
I love the name.
Yeah.
SoftSpot. It's
Yeah.
really cute.
And so there were some names that came close that had very different connotations. So we were super careful. We were like, well, that might not work. But SoftSpot it took. I remember unloading my first container in Salt Lake, seeing our boxes with the logo that we had a friend help us design. And it was so satisfying. You appreciate this because you've seen thousands of products and SKUs run through, but for a first timer to see a product that you had thought of which was a knockoff of another's, which was a round ball, it was so thrilling. It turned out retail was so terribly hard. We got a kiosk in the mall. We tried to sell these. We broke even on that business. It was $25,000 of our own money, and we made like $26,000.
Hey, that's good. Actually, don't you feel like when someone says they break even on something, you're like, good job? Because you learn so much.
Learn so much.
The lessons you learn are invaluable. So to not have to pay for those lessons really, but to break even on them.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And then what'd you do?
And then, let me think. Not long after was Zinch. Zinch, we're running that business. We're still account executives. We're doing the soft spot off the side of our desk. We're going to school. And then Brad's kid brother, Mick Hagen, was at Princeton and had this business idea. It wasn't quite getting legs there. We talked to him. We're like, hey, can we invest? We thought we had all this money. We probably had, $50,000. And eventually we decided, to do this together, the three of us. And so there was this conversation. So the premise there was Mick had applied, all of us had applied to colleges. Brad and I went to BYU. Mick went to Princeton, which was a big deal. And in the process saw just how broken our higher ed system is and how high stress it is. And I see it right now. My oldest daughter's applying to colleges, and she is just a basket case with all of that, everything that goes into it. And so we had this early concept from Mick, and then we really just went to work. We were deciding between New Jersey or Provo, where we would set up shop. Provo won out. We came here, and we started building that product. Built out a team. That was our first, second kind of software venture. The one before that was a company called Nextlight. We came in early on. They had raised some venture. I won't bore you with that story. It's a little bit less exciting. It didn't pan out. And so Zinch was incepted downtown Provo. I remember the first day we saw thousands of people creating accounts on our site. We thought we were going to get rich. Little did we know it would take another 6 years of just grind to figure it out, ups and downs, which I could go into any of that. But Zinch was ultimately the one that really took. The first time we raised venture capital was Zinch. So before that, we had bootstrapped. It was our money that we lost or made. Whereas with Zinch, it was now other people's money. And for me, some of the first subconscious kind of processing of what I would be like if I was an investor, and I think informs a little bit now how I approach what I do.
Based on who you were interacting with then. Based
on great VCs and based on less than great investors that we had.
Right.
Yep.
And then after Zinch?
After Zinch, it was Album. So
okay, yeah. So I just want to go back to your time in Detroit a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
You told me a story once, which it's stuck in my mind. You taught yourself how to cut hair in Detroit, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What was the impetus for that?
We didn't have money.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So in Detroit, Detroit for us was the scrappiest of scrappy. We lived in this apartment complex that was primarily occupied by employees for the big motor companies. And so every few years they would cycle in and out, which meant every few years people would be getting rid of furniture, which meant that every time I drove home, I would go by the dumpster and eye it. And that was where all of our couches, all of our furniture, including mattresses, came from.
Amazing.
Dumpsters. My wife she can sew, so she would stitch things up. But and our apartment was not like you would walk in and be like, this is pretty nice. But little did you know, all of that came from the dumpster. So little disposable income. We ate, we laughed. This was when Wendy's came out with the dollar menu. They were the first ones to have that dollar menu, and that saved us. Every day it was 2 junior bacon cheese for me and some fries, and every day. Some days when I was feeling healthy, 2 junior bacon cheese and a salad.
It'll be 20 again.
Yeah. And so my wife has short hair. I had, in high school you buzz each other's heads. I played basketball, but she had really short hair, like a guy's hair, and so I learned to cut hers. She cut mine. I cut Brad's. We all lived in the same apartment. So I was newly married, but the three of us it was like Three's Company. All three of us lived there. And in fact, I may have told you the story of, so I cut hair, and then word gets around, and somebody in the neighborhood was like, hey, can you cut my son's hair? I was like, sure. He comes over. It was the first time I had cut a black kid's hair, which is very different than cutting, Caucasian person hair. And so
because of the texture.
Yeah, super curly, very different. You have to go with the grain, and I didn't know all of this. So it was like a 3-hour haircut, and this kid's 7 years old. I remember him just sweating in our hot apartment and finally taking him home to his mom with an acceptable haircut. But cutting hair. In fact, we joke now because we both go to places to have our hair done. But
right. But I brought that up because I don't remember what we were talking about, but you told me that story once. And I love that's why I started the podcast. So it's called Started from the Bottom, because I think there's always like the things that you do. And I don't even want to say willing to do, but just will just like roll up your sleeves and be like, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
I could figure that out. Mm-hmm. And so did the 3-hour haircut. Did you start cutting more black kids' hair after that?
No, I don't think she brought him back after that. That was kind of it.
I'll find another kid who
Yeah.
can cut his hair.
Yeah. But no, and cutting hair, I mean, it is to this day almost, a sacred thing to me. So my brother's passed away. One of my last interactions with him is he asked me to cut his hair. I think it was kind of him saying goodbye. I cut my father-in-law's hair. I cut my wife's grandparents' hair. Like her grandparents have since passed away. So like, I don't cut hair for anybody now, but like family. But my wife lost her brother last year. I cut his hair. So it turns out like cutting hair, kind of like, your dentist, your dentist who does your hair. There's like a few people that you sort of share everything with, and you kind of bond over the
like
experience.
Skin boss.
Like Skin Boss.
Like
Exactly.
Lisa,
Exactly. Yeah. You're sitting there and it's like, these people have their hands all over your face and stuff. So you feel like you can share.
Very intimate.
It's very intimate.
Yeah.
So I still have my clippers. I have a nice set of clippers. I trim my father-in-law's beard, his hair every couple weeks. I mean, it really is, and he can afford to go get a haircut, but,
sure.
And I, could quote unquote have better things to do, but it turns out it's a really important thing to do, is have that time with people you love.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Okay. So then I want to talk about from going to like from like being an entrepreneur, CEO, into then like taking the jump into like VC.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, how did that come about?
Yeah. So I was angel investing. I was traveling a lot. I was still employed by Chegg back and forth from China. And there were some friends that I had been angel investing with. We started investing through Boom Startup, which was an accelerator in Provo. And then, he essentially approached me and said, I'm starting a venture fund. Do you want to do it together? And I was like, I guess, maybe. I had thought I was going to take more time with my family in between leaving Chegg and getting into my next thing. But one thing led to another. And I think, again, going back to that kind of very real experience of, especially the negative experiences, like you remember those so deeply, I thought, maybe I can do this better than some of my experience. And maybe the more optimistic view is I had some of the best investors too. Mike Leventhal, who resides in Park City, was just amazing. In fact, he was one of the first people I called. I called up Mike and I said, "Hey, Mike, my friend's talking about raising a venture fund, wants me to partner with him." And so, Mike gave me some advice, and it wasn't just carte blanche, like, yeah, you'll be great. It was like, some people are cut out for this and some people aren't, and you don't really know. And the problem with venture capital is you can go out writing checks and everybody likes you and you're a nice person, but you have to fast forward 5 or 6 years to see, are your investments panning out? Are you any good at this? So that was how we started, and we launched, and our premise was really simple in the early days. I had come back from living in China, now back to Utah, and I noticed, whereas when we were raising money for our startup, there were very few sources of capital, and we had to ultimately move our headquarters to San Francisco and raise money outside of Utah. Things had changed. When we came back, there was a growing number of capital resources or sources, and then there was just a lot of startups happening. Like, it was one of some of the still early innings, but things were humming here, and there were more tech unicorns than there had ever been. And what we saw as the common theme was that none of them had local seed money. So our thesis was really simple, and early on it was like, we're going to be the local money in all the tech unicorns that emerge from here on out. And we got going.
Yeah, and you've had quite a bit of success, I would say.
We've backed 8 of 8 in Utah tech unicorns since then, which is a lot of luck.
That's not wooden.
That's not wooden.
Shoot.
Where's the wood? The door.
Dang it.
I got to get over
Get
here.
it.
Knock on wood.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
Is that Drew?
This is Corey Stevens. This is Taft.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah. So I just did a video. So this is.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So he just they
shoulders are looking good, Sydney.
Thanks.
Wow, you've been working out at the club.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm still going.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I started going to Edgemont Fitness.
Oh, we've been talking about that. We go, if it ever doesn't work out at the field house, we're going to go to right there by Days.
Yes, it's so nice.
Yeah, you kind of go whenever, right?
Yeah, and the most people that I've ever seen in there has been like 6.
Oh, that's awesome. We literally like today or yesterday, my workout buddy said that. He's like, you should check it out.
Are we good? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you backed 8 of 8. So you're good at sales.
Yeah.
You're really good at operations and strategy. I know that just from talking to you. I've come over and talked to you about some of my ideas, and I love how you lay stuff out. You're good at finances. Where are you approaching your investments from? Like from those 4, or is it like a holistic approach, or is it a gut feeling?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great question. It really starts with the person and the enormity, or at least perceived enormity of the problem for that person. So the best description I've heard, I've been doing this 8 years. I can look back now and try to pick apart, and you got to be very careful when you do it, because there's not a perfect roadmap. Like if I try to rely on how I invested, 5 years ago, I probably am missing a few things. But one of the best things I heard, there was a partner at what I think is the most successful venture firm, Benchmark, who shared with me the story of when the Snap founders came in and pitched them. And they said, when Evan came in, he felt he had a visceral hatred for Facebook, that he kind of claimed that it was robbing them of their 20s, not because they wanted to go put inappropriate things out there and they would disappear, but because they didn't want to be held hostage by everything in arrears.
Yeah.
And that term we still use, visceral. Like some founders just feel it in their bones. They think, they are convinced that they are solving the most important problem in the world. And you can just tell. You can't fake that. So we see a lot of good businesses. Like you can, in fact, more often than not, we'll look at each other as partners and say, that's a good business. But that's another way where we say, but it isn't necessarily a venture business. Like what I learned in starting some of my own things was that some businesses you should never raise money for. My first 2 businesses, I didn't. And the first one went really well, and we were just account executives. We built our own marketing team. And so we kind of had our own LLC in business, but it was a very dumb, simple business, but it produced great cash flow that made all the difference when later we would need that startup money that tech often requires. So it really starts with the founder. Like sometimes you just know, sometimes it takes a while to know, but what we found, so we were really crippled during COVID in that we thought, okay, it's Zoom life now, and we'll be, I guess, just conducting diligence calls over Zoom, but we found we couldn't. We have yet to make an investment over just Zoom interactions. There's something about sitting on a couch with someone, going out to eat with someone, being with them and their team where you just can feel that, because teams that feel something viscerally stand out. And those are the teams that they may or may not have a chance to hit it out of the ballpark, but if there is a chance for the ball to leave the park, they are going to swing for it. So that's what I would say. It starts there and ends there at the early stage. See, we're investing when companies may not even have revenue. Like TaxBit is one that's gone really well here in Utah. This was like a concept when my partner Diogo invested. And so you have to believe in the space that crypto will inevitably, or continually grow in its use and function in society. And then you have to believe in the individual, that this is somebody gritty who will grind it out. And ultimately, if Lady Luck looks on him, like, go for it, swing hard.
Yeah. And you guys just raised your 4th, or closed on your 4th fund.
4th fund.
What do you have under management right now? How much?
Under management, we have, fund 1 was 20, roughly. Fund 2 was 55, so 75. Fund 3 was 75, so 150, and we just raised another 200.
So 350.
Yeah. And then we had another vehicle that we call our HITS vehicle, which was another 50. So about 400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
That's amazing, Sid.
There's a lot of people that have raised a lot more than that.
You know what though? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And, with, I mean, we are a boutique firm, right? There are 6 of us. So it also, there's something satisfying about having this kind of small operation where we do a finite number of deals. Each partner does 2 to 3 deals a year. We have Christmas parties with our team and their families. We know everybody intimately. It's just kind of, for me, like where I want to stay. Like I've seen the larger funds and what that starts to mean in terms of just headcount and becoming more manager than investor in some ways, or risking that at least. And we love what we do.
Yeah, I love dropping into album and getting some swag and bugging Steve and talking to Lisa and chewing on some mints. Like It is like a family, like what's in the fridge? I'm going to eat some food and
totally.
Just like, it is so fun just to swing by and talk to everyone. You got a really cool office. You got really cool people working for you.
We're doing the latest little renovation too, which will be cool.
Okay.
We're adding some cool stuff.
Okay. When should I come and see it?
It'll be ready a little bit after Thanksgiving.
Okay, cool.
Come by.
I'll come by.
Yeah.
So this wasn't on here, but as we're talking, it's just, what is the future of entrepreneur? What are you thinking Utah's going to look like in the next 5, 10? As you and I both have kids that are, I have a junior, you have a senior. Like, what's the landscape going to look like in the next little bit for entrepreneurs here?
Yeah, I think it looks like Tel Aviv, Israel.
Wow.
I think meaning, no beaches, but we will always have, for better and sometimes worse, a predominant culture, and makeup of the people here, which on the huge upside that you and I benefit from, gives the state and the people here a scrappiness, and I can do this, well-educated group of people, but we will become increasingly connected to the rest of the world. So if you look at how Israel interacts with Silicon Valley, it's very tight-knit. Like Israel has its identity, but Israel would have been capped had it not had the interconnectedness that it's formed. Specifically venture in other ways, of course, militarily and otherwise. But I think Utah is in inning 2 or 3 of a great 9-inning run where we're just going to see more sources of capital. I mean, just in the time you and I have been building, look at it. I mean, there is like triple the funds and probably 5 to 7 times, I haven't added it all up, the quantity of capital out there.
Yeah.
Captive capital, like ready, fund type structure ready to be deployed. And it's not, and when we started, there weren't necessarily as many operators who were with. Now there's operators, and there's no right or wrong, by the way, but now you just have a real spectrum of the sources of money out there. And maybe more importantly, the schools, what's happening at BYU, UVU especially, the
Utah State,
like you're just seeing more emphasis on there's an appreciation for tech. They want kids to have, a chance to gain these skills and to have the opportunities in college to get exposure to startups, whether through internship or just starting their own. So I think we're going to see that those beds of innovation also continue. So capital, innovation, we still have our identity, but we benefit massively from greater interconnectedness. I think the COVID wave, where so many people came and parked in Park City and then realized, why would I ever leave this place? Not to mention other parts of our state. That's just going to continue.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen, I took outside capital because there hasn't been a lot of, when I was raising, I didn't feel like there was a lot of great options for people in product. And now I feel like that's definitely changing. And there's, you're starting to see some good options for product-based companies here as well. And I think that's going to continue to grow. I know my investors specifically love Utah companies. So I think even outside capital is still looking how to get in here as well.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, I think historically we've been seeing, at least from my perspective, is B2B SaaS, and there's a lot of that. That'll continue, but you have CPG, you have crypto, you have the life sciences. I saw yesterday, I was at a basketball game, and BYU has a new cancer institute. And I thought, okay, it was always the U. Like, what's going on at BYU? I think the appetite for innovation, all the success that people from or with ties to Utah have had who are coming back here and redeploying not just their money, but bringing their input, through mentorship and kind of leaning into the younger audience that is just anxious for innovation is phenomenal.
I love it. Okay. I only ask men this question.
Okay.
How do you balance work, home, family life?
I mean, I don't.
Because I always get asked that question.
Yeah. I mean, I benefit from a monster of a woman, like who does more than probably she signed up for. When we started in Detroit, back to that. So that first kind of sales gig, it grew, our business grew, we hired our own employees. What I didn't say was that I started that with my wife and my friend Brad. So it was the three of us who were selling. And we realized like working together wasn't all it's cracked up to be. It's nice to have a little separation. So she went and started in her career in HR and was working for a great company and was integral to it, and felt that satisfaction that I feel every day. Like today I had a really hard morning, and it reminded me, I was on a board call, it reminded me of how much my identity is tied up in what I do for work. It's kind of sad to say, but like, it was a rough interaction. I was so bummed, and I thought, why do you care? But it's because I care. I care so much about my work. Like it defines a huge part of me. And so she left that when we started having kids and gave it all up, right? And that is a sacrifice and just holds it down. So those years in China, I was on the road. I did the math. I was on the road 175 days that last year of managing the Chegg business. And that for me, I know some people just jet setting all the time. That about broke me. Like it was just so much time away from my family. It also meant that my wife just became this independent machine who could function without me.
She didn't need you anymore.
She didn't need me anymore. Yeah, exactly. So we're now hitting that point where, youngest kid is 8 years old, oldest kid is leaving the house next year, where all of a sudden, there's the real commitment to what are you going to pursue? Because I think her life will go in part unfulfilled if she doesn't have some of the satisfaction that I've been able to have. It's not to demean any of the satisfaction she gets in the home, but the satisfaction that you get from building stuff,
You can say shit.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Fine.
I'm not sure the audience or what's okay.
Okay. What is one lesson that you learned early on that's still true today?
Partners are everything. Like
I love
early
this.
on, I mean, my partners, my partner Brad and my wife. After that, Brad again. After that, Brad and Mick, and now my partners, John and Diogo. I mean, partnership is the beginning and end of it all. It's where you can find the absolute most joy. I told you it was a rough morning. This board call like really got me down. Guess who I call, right? I text my wife, I call Diogo. Like, and it's just, and there's days like that where Diogo just calls like, I just got to talk to you, brother. Like, there is such satisfaction in a healthy, which doesn't just emerge from the earth and it's there. You have to fight for that. We've had plenty of disagreements and not seeing things, but tonight I have dinner at Diogo's house. He's cooking, he's Brazilian picanha, his favorite cut of meat for us. And like, there's nothing more satisfying, maybe second only to like with my family, but when me and my wife can be with my partners and their spouses, like it's just the best. And it is the most difficult, when partnerships, aren't that. And, hopefully you can get them there. That isn't always the case, but partnership is everything.
Okay. I just have a double click into that.
Sure.
How do you find a good partnership?
Yeah. So I think partnerships in startup are exactly the opposite for me with partnerships in venture. Startup is about,
interesting.
My experience was startup is about catalyzing force and velocity. It has to have a lot to get off the ground, and it's got to get up a big ass hill. And so I found people who are more like me, we could build off each other and run up the score. And so when I look at my partners in startup, we were like that. Like, we are more similar than dissimilar. You know, it's part of what I think contributes to the challenge with females in tech actually is, you know, if what I say holds true, like, it's more likely that another guy to start a startup with might, you know, be the easier path.
Ooh, I'm going to ask Kat Kennedy that when she comes in.
It might, you know, I think you absolutely should. Kat's the best.
I know she's the best.
In venture, it's the opposite. You are looking for it. I would say it approximates more on marriage. It's long-term. Venture capital, when we raise a fund, you sign up for 10 years of work.
Right.
Every new fund. So you just raise fund
so
for.
You're almost augmenting for your weaknesses.
You are, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, if you were to meet my partners, especially John, you'd go, he is like totally different than Sid. His energy is different. And I would say exactly.
Yeah.
And Diogo and I would tell you, John's probably the most important partner in our partnership because he is this glue. He is this Lego piece that, and me and Diogo, because me and Diogo are a little bit more similar, but even still, we're all different. And the way it did come about was a little Darwinian. We all kind of had found our own way into this industry. We just happened to be complementary with each other. We all happen to be decent investors, and we sort of pinch ourselves because, like I said, partnership is super hard, but super rewarding.
Yeah. And if there's anyone listening, I think untangling from a bad partnership as quick as you can. Like, don't drag it out. Just have the hard conversations.
That's right.
Move on.
That's right.
Try to leave everyone with as much dignity as possible, but just like get out of it as quickly as possible. And you know when it's not right.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it's been 20 years for me, at least, probably similar to you since we were dating. Okay. Yeah. But like, I hear that from friends who are dating is, you know, especially those who've been dating for a decade plus, they'll say, sometimes you just know, and you can sort of have that, you know, that first date and like, hey, it was great, but good luck in life. Like, see ya. You know? Yeah,
actually, I put Christian in the friend category, and then he surprised me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think anything was going to happen there. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, whoa, this guy tricked me. But all marriage is like some scale of trickery, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. So from that lesson, what is some advice that you'd give young Sydney?
Yeah. Not as much as you think is within your control. I think early on, I felt like everything.
I hate that advice. I control so much.
I know, but
that's so good.
But there is also something, and it's weird because I think younger Sydney was like, you know, you have to control you have to get your straight A's. You have to work hard for this in this sport. You know, nothing's given to you, and that serves you. But then I look back now and I say, gosh, there were all those things that were just given to me. And it's sometimes letting a little bit like, so I'm not saying sell yourself short or check out at 3:00, but there are a lot of things that just appear lily pads in your life to walk on that work out. I mean, especially the people. If I look at my partners now, I did not know Diogo 6 years ago, and I didn't know John 9 years ago. And I stumbled into these relationships, and if I would have over controlled, I think early on, they may not have happened. So I do think the universe kind of conspires for us. I'm a believer in that. It's easy to say because it's conspired for me in ways, and I've had, you know, shit happen in my life, you know, so I'm not saying it's all been rosy, but I just tend to believe that the universe is working for us. And sometimes we can, you know, look at it. Sounds a little woo woo, I know, but it's how I feel.
Yeah, I think there's a million ways to say that, but I think it's true overall.
How do you say it?
I say it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. And what do you mean by that?
That things are going to work out.
Yeah.
Everything, like you said, a lily pad that just, I say everything good that's happened to me, I've fallen ass backwards into.
Yeah.
But like, I think, and you keep bringing it up, and so let's talk about it. Like, so much of being successful in business comes down to luck. Like I've looked at people who are older than me, like one or two generations who've worked really hard and have not like caught that lucky streak.
Totally.
And their life, and I hope that I learn from them. But, you know, like I caught a lucky streak. I worked my butt off, and I had all the late nights and did all the things, but I really caught a lucky streak, and have been able to have some really cool things happen for me.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. I mean, you put us in 100 other contexts and it doesn't look the same. I'm sure of that. Like the time we're doing what we do, the place we're living and doing what we do, the people that we've stumbled into, even the headaches that we've both had, you know, we're friends. Like somehow those things like work out with time and, you know.
Yeah. And I know you and you know me, and my life has not been easy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's some hard things.
That's right.
But you know what I love about you, Sid, is like you now are creating that luck for other people.
Trying to.
Yeah. But you are giving people opportunities to be lucky.
Well, those were given to me. Yeah, totally.
And so I love the passive, like the abundance mindset there, and passing it on and giving people opportunities that you had. But you know what else I love about you and Lisa? So we had Lisa Rich. She'll air before Sid, the skin boss.
Lisa Richards.
Lisa Richards and Sid, they are siblings. Yeah. But you will not find a bigger chip that sits anywhere than on a Krommenhoek shoulder.
It is true. It is true. It is something just deep in our bones.
But it has made both of you successful.
Yeah.
You guys have both turned it into something beautiful.
Yes. And creates for a lot of times where we have to apologize and eat crow in life.
Yeah, but it is so fun when Lisa gets worked up. Sometimes I work her up on purpose. Yeah. Because it's really fun.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to go into some rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yes.
What is your favorite job you've ever had?
Easy, waiter at Sizzler. I was in college in Sugar House. Loved it. So I had walked onto the basketball team.
If you don't know, Sizzler is like an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah.
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 But like a high class one.
High class. So, and I was so sad because this Sizzler in particular in Sugar House, you know, in Salt Lake, right by Sugar House Park, was just torn down. They're putting like a gas station in.
Have they closed all of the Sizzlers? They paved Paradise.
Maybe.
They paved it to put up a parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
Because the one over here in Orem got...
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Sure.
So I don't like Sizzler.
Okay.
But Christian and my kids love Sizzler.
Well, is that Susan of today doesn't like Sizzler? What about Susan of 20 years ago? She definitely likes Sizzler.
I don't know. Like, an all-you-can-eat just never appeals to me because I don't think
they have a standing menu.
I know, but I don't think I get my money's worth because I'm worried I'm not going to eat enough.
Okay. And
then I kind of get a stomach ache, and then, you know...
Yeah.
So I've never had a good experience at an all you can eat. So I don't know if I've ever liked it, but I would leave town and they'd be so stoked to go to Sizzler because I was out of town. I was like the thing. Every time I left, they'd go to Sizzler.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I had an academic scholarship, so my tuition was covered. And then I was like, I'll just work a side job while I'm here in college. Then I walked onto the basketball team, which meant I had 3-hour practices every day. But I wasn't a scholarship athlete, so I still had to make money. So I'm working at the Sizzler, but it was cool because my boss was a big University of Utah basketball fan. So I would give him my player tickets and he would give me the best shifts. So I worked like Fridays and Saturdays when I didn't have games. And it was awesome. It taught me customer service, which I am a service provider now. That is all I am. My service is giving capital. It sounds a lot more exciting, venture capital, tech startups, but I am a service provider. If I don't give a good experience to a founder, I'm not doing my job, or people learn that, word travels. So waiting tables, fighting for that tip, just doing that, keeping drinks topped up, bringing out, if they got the all-you-can-eat shrimp, continuing to bring those shrimp, it was so satisfying. And I also came to appreciate the gratitude people had, like tippers. You really start to notice who tips, and it's not the people that have money. Strangely, they're the stingy ones.
Yes.
And you'd see these people and it would always be in the beginning was unlikely, and with time became the likely suspects. They were just these down to earth people that valued hard work.
I think there's something to be said about people who've worked in the service industry.
Yeah.
I always say I don't trust you unless you've worked in food.
And I say, like, all my kids will be in the service industry for some period of their lives.
Yes.
It's so important.
It really allows you to learn how to read people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And learn how to serve people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you a good tipper now?
Oh, yeah.
No matter what?
Well, it's different when you're traveling in countries where there's not tipping.
Okay,
It's this
so
weird,
just in America.
But in America.
Yeah.
Almost without exception, yes. I mean,
Yes.
it's at least 15 even if it's a horrible experience, but it's usually 20 plus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And even if they're having a horrible experience, I'm like, okay, wait, is the kitchen messing up? Did their girlfriend just break up with them?
There's more to the story. There's always more to the story.
It's like you know they're trying their hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Who's your favorite kid?
My daughter Micah. Yeah. I mean, if you're a kid that's gone through a dozen plus surgeries and you just like you can't help but say, yeah, you're a little bit tougher.
Yeah, she is.
And she's also strangely the least needy in terms of like even love and affection, which only makes me want to love her more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
She's really remarkable.
And I tell her, but I tell her I'll deny it if she ever brings up. So when she has brought up, I'm like, that is untrue. I don't know where you're getting that. So hopefully none of my kids can use YouTube or anything, so,
no, your children totally can't use YouTube. Who's your best friend?
Trent.
Trent who? Did you hear me being jealous right there?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Trent Miller. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We work out every day. We have for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like this, He
at the club.
Mm-hmm, at the health club.
Okay, so it's actually not the health club. You and I fought about this. I think this has been our biggest fight. It is the Provo Rec Center.
Yeah, it's the health club. It's a health club. You pay a membership to be a part of it. It's a club. It's a healthy place. I call it the health club.
Yeah, but when you say it, people think you get like minted towels. It's not that experience.
But yeah, Trent he's this 1 in a million type of human. He'll show up for anything, anytime, and is just an example to me as a good husband, father.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
What is next? More funds? Another business?
More funds. Yeah, I love what I do. I can't imagine not doing it. And so yeah, I've never aspired to just stay where I'm at like I have now. Like I just love what I have, and I think part of that is coming back to partnership. Even to sustain what we've had and to continue to raise funds and do it is plenty of work. When you think of the internal partnership, but then all the founders and all that comes with giving your best to a founder, it's its own tall order. So I hope to continue to do this for another decade plus. And at some point, I've had buddies who've actually retired and like truly, truly retired. I was sitting next to one last night at a game and I was like, but you're doing other stuff. He's like, no, I'm retired. Like I give to my family and charity, and I'm retired. That actually, I think,
does that appeal to you?
A little bit. Yeah,
Oh,
I know. We say
interesting.
like I can never. It doesn't mean I won't be active with stuff, but I do think there comes a point where consumption reaches its limits, and we start to see that. Right? We've both in our own right gone from like ramen living to picky about our food and our restaurant and our cuts of meat and everything. And I think there does come a point where giving back needs to take on even more. And so, I have gotten involved with Utah Valley University. I did not attend the school, but I am completely enamored with the president, their mission, and who they serve. I think it is just unprecedented almost anywhere when you look at how efficient and effective they are with what they do of any school in the country. And so my wife and I have signed up to pitch in there. So I'm doing some things there now, and I think that's going to continue. And it's a source of like real satisfaction because these are young people. In the case of where I'm putting time, it's with first generation college students, which could be black, could be white, could be immigrants, could be native, could be all these things, but their parents didn't go to college. So it's uncharted territory. And so, I think I can see certain things becoming more of a priority that are less about making money.
Love it. Okay, last question. What legacy are you trying to build?
It gets smaller with time.
Oh, I love this.
It actually gets smaller. I think I used to think maybe more grandiose, but with time I found, man, it is enough to raise kids that want to give to either God, in our case, country, or, something truly charitable. And then just by extension, my nephews and nieces. I've got some nephews that I'm not in good graces with right now, and nothing's more important to me than figuring some of that out. So my legacy is really tied to my kids and my extended family. Like, that's it. Like, I want to see them thrive. There's an array in any family. There's an array of needs, from mental to physical. We've got plenty of things that run through our family. And so a huge amount of just what I think about before head hits the pillow is my kids and what my nephews and nieces are up to. By extension, their parents. That's kind of simple, but honestly, Sue's, like, that's where I'm at.
I love it. Okay. This is a truth or truth question. Okay. So, girl boss, gatekeep, or gaslight. 3 categories. You pick one, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
So the gut reaction would be to say girl boss.
Okay.
But I'm scared to say that because it's too obvious.
What do you think it's going to be?
I think you're going to ask me about, well, no, I'm just going to do it. Girl boss.
Oh, well, now I know. Now I want to know what you think I'm going to ask you about, because we might be able to have a conversation about this.
I think you're going to hold me accountable to my investing in women.
No, I wasn't, but do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Okay, how many women have you invested in, Sydney?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh. Color me shocked.
5. As a fund, 5.
Okay.
Personally, 2 or 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I angel investing?
Okay.
So, but we've backed 80 founders. So that shows you statistically the disparity between the two.
Right, which is statistically what it is across America.
Yeah.
So you guys are right where you need to be. Okay, so then I'm just, what are we going to do to up that number?
Yeah, it really comes down. So if you look then, I stumbled into this fact when somebody on LinkedIn was kind of poking at us and saying, well, what do diverse founders that you back look like? And it's funny, I had never done the math, but we disproportionately skew toward Hispanic male founders or male founders of color in terms of the category, if there is a category that we over-index on.
Right, because you're Hispanic.
Exactly. So
and Diogo
is. Yeah. So we looked at that and we said,
he's Brazilian.
He's Brazilian.
Yeah. Different.
So you invest in things that and that look like you. That look like you.
They found that across the board.
So who have I unequivocally said, my door, my book of notes, any secret sauce we may have or will have is yours, goes to Kat Kennedy, goes to Rochelle, goes to women who are now in this industry. Because short of adding another partner, which we have not decided to do, who is female to our team, it will not change.
Right.
You have to have more females writing checks.
Right.
Flat out.
Yeah. Okay. So you're helping other female investors right now. That's the plan.
Yes.
I like it. Good job, Sid.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on my podcast.
Yeah.
You are always a delight.
Thank you.
And your muscles are looking very big.
Want to feel them?
No, maybe later.